welcome to another episode of the Personal PR Show. And today we're here with Tyler. Hello, Tyler.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Of course. Where are you in the world today?
So my brother and I are down in Colombia for a couple months. So we're traveling this year. Yep.
Amazing. So you're usually based in the States, right?
Yeah, so we're based out of Miami. We've been there about 7 years now.
Oh, wow, cool. And now you're just going to Colombia just for just for 2 months. And then I think I've heard a little bit told me that you are going to continue your travels through the year as well. You're going to go to multiple countries, right?
Yeah, so we plan on going all over Asia as well. So when I was younger, I've been Europe and Northern Africa, but I never did South America and never did Asia. So we love Miami. Obviously, I don't know how you couldn't like Miami, honestly, but this was the year we're like, you know what, we got to travel. So that's we'll be here for like 4 more months, and then Vietnam, Singapore, and Japan. I think we have those planned. But honestly, once we're over there, who knows? We might go to other places too. So
absolutely. I'll interview you in another few months, and then you will tell me which countries you have really gone to. As a matter of fact, let's see, because it might change. Countries will become from 5 to 10. I don't know. Once you get to know people and so on, then one thing leads to another, right? And it's the beauty of it. That is how it goes. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for making the time for us today, although you are traveling, and yeah, your background looks very luxurious, and enjoy your you stay in beautiful Colombia. But what we are here to talk about today is what you actually do for a living, right, Tyler? You, if I have to say, like, you know, straight and like very direct, is basically you get authors books, right, on the New York Times bestselling list, or Amazon, or other publications as well, right? This is what you do for a living. This is what your company does. It's amazing. Like, this is everybody's dream. You know that you are basically fulfilling everybody's dream, right?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I love that. I'll take that. Yeah, I definitely realized at a younger age, we'll get into this, but regardless, when I was younger, I had written a book, and then a bunch of people started reaching out to me, asking me how I did it. And before that, I had no idea, but I think you're correct. For most people, it is a dream that they have to write a book and become a bestseller. So it's wild to me that I fell into this business and I'm able to fulfill that for so many people. It's really cool.
Absolutely. Wow. This is really, really amazing. Yes. How did you get started in this business?
Yeah. So the story is this: when it was around 19, 20 years old, I was going to college at University of South Carolina. And oddly enough, that was in Colombia, but in the United States, Columbia with a U, not another L. So Columbia, South Carolina. And basically, I had realized after reading the book, The 4-Hour Workweek, that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And it started like adding up for me in my head that a degree from a college was basically going to get me somewhere that I didn't even want to be. So I was like, this is kind of weird. I'm like working really hard for something I don't even want. So I might want to change paths here. And I decided to drop out. And my first thing as an entrepreneur was I wanted to be a public speaker, because I just love talking to people. And it just seemed like the best, funnest route. And thus the idea of like living on the road, out of hotels, to me at 19, 20 was super appealing. So regardless, my way of doing that was I had realized from going to all these conferences that most of the speakers were authors or best-selling authors. And, anybody listening right now, like, you'll realize that when you go to all these conferences, most of the speakers are an author or a best-selling author. So I was like, okay, I'm 19, 20. I don't really have any expertise. Who's going to pay me to speak? Like, nobody's going to, like, they'll pay me not to speak. You know what I mean? Like it was because I just didn't have any expertise. There was just no reason. So I was like, okay, what can I write a book on to become an author that then would make me an expert in a field that would then enable a conference coordinator to pay me? And what I realized, my first book, it's called Conference Crushing. And what that is when I dropped out, I started going to all these conferences, and I actually was going, for most of them, I was going for free. And the reason is I would reach out to the coordinator and I would just tell them the truth. I was like, I am a dropout in college, aspiring entrepreneur. I'm $80,000 in debt. And I'd love to come to your event, but I don't have $5,000 to pay for the ticket. So is there anything I can do to help you in exchange for coming? And surprisingly enough, I might like, there was so many, dozens to like 100 said yes. Like it was so many, like they all said yes. Not all, but like more than you would think. And then what started happening is I started going and I was like behind the scenes. So like, 6 months later, right, I'm at this conference called Mastermind Talks and I'm like backstage with Tim Ferriss. And I'm like a fanboy to Tim Ferriss, right? Because that book changed my life. And now I'm at a conference backstage with him. So either way, the book Conference Crushing, what that's about is basically how to maximize your ROI at these networking events. And I think the issue I saw is most people that go there, they go for the content, and that's nothing wrong with that. The content is great. But for me, I think the more of the value is this is a time where you have like 2 to 3 days typically, or one day where there's all these people in one room and you should connect with all of them. Like to me, I don't see why not. And I know you would agree with that. So either way, I wrote this whole book of like, how do you prepare for a conference? What do you do at the conference? What do you do after the conference to maximize that time? And it ended up becoming a bestseller on Amazon. And I just, I woke up, it became a bestseller on Amazon and I had no idea. It was just like surprising. I was like, wow, like it's a bestseller. This is awesome. And then, long story short, I figured out how all the bestseller lists work after that. And then Authors Unite was born and we focused on that. And then we built out from that foundation, basically. So that's the whole story.
Wow. Okay. So basically now in your company, you, of course, you develop strategies in order for books to become bestsellers, but actually your book became a bestseller without a strategy, or maybe without a conscious strategy, maybe.
Yeah, so there was somewhat of a strategy, but the idea that it was going to actually work was the surprising point, right? Because I just didn't know. So for Amazon, for example, and I'm happy to get in, there's 5 major lists. So you let me know how detailed you'd like me to be. But for Amazon, it's basically an hourly algorithm. So that one is the easiest of the bestseller lists. So if you get basically the strategy for that would be line up all your sales and marketing efforts to hit on one day. And then you'll get a huge spike in the algorithm and then you'll become an Amazon bestseller. So depending on the category, you could get anywhere from like 100 to 1,000 sales in a day. In some categories, even less. But, let's say 100 and you'll be an Amazon bestseller. So that's how that one works.
Wow. So it sounds easy, but I'm sure it's not because of course, all of the efforts, the PR efforts, they have to be made and they have to be coordinated, of course, to peak in a certain day, right? So certainly there's a lot of work in the behind the scenes, but as the way you explained it sounds very, very simple. How about the way you become a bestseller on, let's say, on the New York Times? Is it a different strategy that you have to implement?
Oh yeah. So here, I'll go through all of them because actually, and the New York Times is the most complicated. But in Amazon, in a way, I'll put it this way. If you have a lot of friends, it's pretty easy. If you don't have a lot of friends, if you're more introverted and you don't talk to a lot of people, then it's going to be hard because basically if you just got to line up 100 sales in a day and you're pretty safe. Barnes and Noble is a top 100 list, in the whole store. That one, if you got like 200-300 sales in a day, you'd hit that one. USA Today, which was recently suspended because they laid off a bunch of people. And one of the women they laid off was the woman who did the weekly list. That's a top 150 list in the US. The way that one works is if you get about 5,000 plus sales in a week, then you'll hit that with one caveat. You want at least 500 sales in a secondary bookstore. Right. So say if you got 5,000 sales, you'd want like 4,500 on Amazon and like 500-600 on Barnes and Noble. And then you would hit that one. Wall Street Journal is a top 10, and that's basically a top 10 nonfiction list. So kind of an easy way to find out even before it's published to see which books will be on that list is if you go to Amazon and look at the nonfiction category, the top 10 books that are selling in that category will essentially translate over to that list. for the most part. So that's how that one. Now, New York Times, and this is actually cool that we're doing the interview because we now offer this new service for New York Times. It's their audiobook list, but I'll get into both. So they have a physical book list. That one, how we do that one, it's a pre-order campaign. So essentially what you want to do is you would, through your website, you would run a irresistible offer, right? So let's just say, and I'll use one of our clients' examples. Say you had a course that was valued at like $2,000, right? So values $2,000. And for the next couple months, you give it away for free if somebody pre-orders your book, right? So $30 book and they get a $2,000 course. So like crazy offer. And anybody who's interested in what you're doing will easily make that purchase, like no brainer. So you do that. And then all that money funnels through the site into a separate bank account, and you get people's names and physical addresses. Then you take the data and the monies, and then you process that through like 15, 20 different bookstores that New York Times looks at over a 3-week period. And the middle week is the week you're actually going, but you want to sandwich the sales because you don't want, for example, you wouldn't want like 20,000 sales to go through, but then the week before and the week after there's like 5 sales, because NYT would be like red flag, like, no, we're not putting you on. So that's part of it. But the interesting thing with NYT is it's not just based on sales. All the other lists are sales only pretty much. But NYT, there's like 30 different criteria. So a couple other things would be like your PR. PR is a big part of NYT. So when NYT like Googles you, because it is an editorial list, what comes up? Like, is it something that they would actually want to put on their list, right? And you have to actually think about that. Some other things would be like your social media following. How are the other formats of your book also doing? And yet where the books are actually going. So if all those sales went through Amazon, you would miss, right? So you want the sales to be diversified in different stores that they're really looking at. So that's how that one works. And then lastly, and sorry if I know this is like very detailed. Okay. Yeah, hopefully this is helpful. So, okay, good. So the other one, which recently we are starting to offer now, is the audiobook list. So they actually have a monthly audiobook list that is a top 15. And what we're actually noticing on that, and we're going to start running these in March, but we've been running small tests and like tracking it for the past, let's say like 6 months to a year. And what we're noticing is that one seems to be more based on sales and not as editorial, which is very cool, because then it's like slightly more predictable, obviously. So the way that would work is we would run on Audible and Spotify, and we would discount your audiobook to $2.99 for a month. And then we run it to our email lists. And then essentially what we're realizing is if you get about 10,000 plus audiobook sales over a 30-day period, you should, and remember, this is new. We haven't run a full campaign yet. In March, we will. You should hit the list. So that's a new way to do it.
Tyler, oh my God, I'm speechless. And I mean, I'm not overwhelmed. Like, keep going. As we said, we honored, and leads me to what I wanted to say, which is, before we get into the details, actually on a meta level, I would like to tell you, thank you for sharing all of this knowledge with us, because it feels like you have not only, shared one secret, you've shared 10,000 secrets in like 10 minutes. It's crazy. By the way, we have Martina joining us. Ciao, Martina. I will get to you in a second. I will spotlight Tyler and myself. So exactly. But Tyler, thank you so much. I don't know how much you reveal in your interviews, in your podcast interviews, but this is amazing. I mean, I'm sure there's so much more to your business, but what you've told us already, it's like a couple of things that we can already put into practice. Of course, not all of them. We still need you, of course. But yeah, oh my God, this is amazing. Yes, Martina is writing, I missed the golden nuggets. Martina, you missed 10,000 golden nuggets in 10 minutes. You have to catch a recording, and listen to it multiple times, because this is crazy. It is crazy value. Now we will all become, multiple best-selling authors, and we'll be at the top of the New York Times, and then Amazon, and then Barnes and Nobles, and then US Today, and so on. Oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you so much again, Tyler. Now let's get away from the meta level, and let's go and talk about a few of the strategies that you have just explained to us. So I imagine that most of your clients are bestsellers on Amazon. Is that true?
Yeah, so we've done a little over 3,000 books now, and that's not just the marketing, but includes like publishing, ghostwriting, and different. So I would say, yeah, majority, I'm just in my head calculating, it's probably about 60% to 70 are Amazon, Barnes and Noble. And then the other 30% are those like harder Wall Street Journal bestseller type.
Wow.
Around there.
This is insane. How many years have you been running your business for?
So technically, I like to start it from the time I wrote the book. So it's been about 12 years. So I'm 31 now. When I was 19, 20, I wrote the book. So let's say 10 to 12 years is a safe estimate. 10
to 12 years, so many books in the thousands. Oh my God, this is amazing. I'm sure that you being a global super connector is actually helping you with all of the people that you are, that you're getting in touch with, and they want to basically work with you, right? Because of course they realize the importance of being a bestseller. And we said a few minutes ago, this is everybody's dream on one side, but on the other side as well, I think it's your person as well. You're so magnetic, you're so pleasant as a person. Of course, everybody wants to work with you. So I think this is the combination. You have the ideal product and such a winning personality, I would say. Would you agree?
I really appreciate that. Yeah. A lot of my close friends like kind of tell me that. Obviously it's funny for me to like say it about myself, I guess you could say, but like, I guess ever since I've been young, people, I guess, what's it called? Like the gift of the gab or whatever. Just like, I'm just a people person, like I really love, I'm not, the funny part I left out, I'll use this to best explain it, is my major before I wanted to be an entrepreneur in college was accounting. Right. And I actually, what's crazy, right, is that made me realize more than anything that I wanted to work with people, because that is like one of the biggest careers that you basically are isolated and not talking to people. And so either way, now I work with people on their books and I do a podcast, and it's just, people oriented is the foundation of that. So yeah, I do think it's part, I guess, me, the personality, and then also the dream that a lot of people want to become a bestseller. So I would agree. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect combination. And by the way, this is not something that we're going to get into detail today, but maybe we can do that on another episode of the Personal PR Show. And the topic is you as a podcaster, because a little bird told me that you have conducted thousands of podcast interviews, right? Thousands. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're at around 2,000 interviews. Yeah.
She's shaking her head. Martina, I know that you want to launch a podcast soon. Let me add you to the spotlight, and feel free to ask any questions to Tyler regarding podcasting or regarding, becoming a best-selling author. By the way, Tyler, I would like to introduce you, Martina, as my biz bestie and actually COO as well.
Oh, great. Very nice to meet you. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica. And hi, Tyler. Nice to meet you. And I was like in another meeting, so otherwise I would have come sooner. And I just right when I jumped on, I heard Jessica say like, "Oh my God," and I was like, "Oh my God, I missed something." So yeah, yeah. So I mean, may I ask a question regarding podcasting, or should we go back to the best-selling? I just don't want to get off topic here.
I think we can also say, Tyler, you decide.
Yeah, no, completely up to you. I'm happy. I'm an open book, no pun intended. I'm happy to answer.
Okay, cool. Maybe just one question, because I'm about to start one. I'm planning to start a podcast, and since you have done almost 2,000 interviews on podcasts, I'm sure you have some experiences that taught you great lessons, where maybe you can share a little bit, what to do and what not to do, or something where you feel like that's very valuable, and then shift back to the topic that we speak about.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that the answer to that really depends on what your goal with the podcast is. And so I'll talk about the evolution of my podcast, and I think it'll answer the question. is at first my podcast was just to connect with as many people. Like the goal for me doing it was to connect with as many people as possible. And honestly, it was for like fun, because my business, I think I started the podcast 5 years ago. And at that point, Authors Unite, my publishing company, was pretty much kind of running on its own without me having to be so involved. So I had all this free time and I was like, okay, I'll start the podcast. And literally, that's how I got up to so many shows. Is I would do, like, no lie, like 20 episodes in a day. And here's how I did it. I know that sounds crazy. Is I would do like 10 to 20 minute, very short episodes. And I would reach out to people on LinkedIn and other like Instagram DM.
Cool.
And I literally was interviewing anyone and everyone. Like, it didn't matter. Like, I was just like, anybody who wants to come on. I just want to connect and have fun and do a short interview. That was very useful for meeting a lot of people and getting a lot of clients, because what would happen is I would interview those 20 people, and then like 5 of them the next week would be like, oh, I didn't realize you run this other thing, Authors Unite. I want to write a book. Can we talk? Right. So that was like a good volume play and helped get clients, and there was no advertising money. So just all around great way to get clients and meet people. Now, how I do it now, though, because I'll tell you, it was around the 1,000th episode, I woke up and I realized to be straight up, like, I hated it because I was like, I was asking the same questions to every person, and it became so robotic and like very surface level, I felt, because it was so focused on just like quick connect, get a client, right? And then I realized, I was like, oh, that's not why I really want to do this. I actually want to deeply connect with people and learn from them and hear their story. So now the way I do it is I do 2 podcasts a week, and they're each an hour long. Sometimes I get a client from it, but that's not the goal at all. It's really just like, I'm very particular with who I interview, and it's more about like the most interesting people to me and what I want to learn. And that's more fulfilling, less profitable, I guess, but more fulfilling. So, you know what I mean? It depends on the goal of your podcast. That's the answer.
That's awesome. Martina.
Yeah, thank you.
A lot of people as well now in the podcast.
What
did you say? Sorry.
Yeah, I asked Martina, are you going to interview a lot of people on your podcast as well now, as Tyler did?
I find the strategy really cool. And, you know, when people like spoke about monetizing their podcast, I was like, how do you do that? Right. And like a year ago, I was always asking myself how you can even do that. But obviously, right, you get clients from that. So I think this is really cool. And I think I want to do a mixture of both, you know, something like where obviously you interview a lot of people and it's fun. And then, you know, see if they turn into clients of some of their audience, right? Because you tap also into their audience as well. So this is really, really cool. Thank you for sharing.
Of course. Yeah, happy to help.
Tyler, maybe you noticed this as well. I would like to add something to the benefits that you listed. So this is a strategy of ours in our, Thought Leaders Mastermind, where we talk about basically how to get visible. And we say that the best way to get featured on podcasts, to get invited to podcasts, one of the best ways is actually to have your own podcast, because then, of course, people on your show, and then theoretically reciprocity is triggered. So I wanted to ask you, you've done 2,000 episodes of your own show. How many episodes of other shows have you been featured on, invited to? Probably a lot as well, right?
Yeah, so I've probably been on, I'd say, a few hundred podcasts now. It would be around there. And that definitely is true. And actually, now that I think about it, it's like the evolution of it is, you start out and you're like trying to get guests. And then as your podcast grows, you start turning down guests, right? Because there's just so many, and there's so many, there's a lot of companies now that are they're singularly focused on helping people get on podcasts, right? So like now we get pitched probably 40 or 50 people a week to come on the show, and I only do 2 per week. But in the beginning, I was reaching out to everybody ever, and I was trying to get people, so I think that's just kind of a good way to think about it. And then, yes, the more you have on, the more you'll find others that have shows, and then they'll ask you to come on their show too.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, congratulations. So thousands of episodes that you did yourself, and then hundreds of episodes where you were a guest. It's incredible. Wow. Well done. Well done. Yes. All right. So guys, should we go back to the original topic, which is how to become a best-selling author? Martina, I know that you will join, you will watch the recording later and catch the first 10 minutes of this interview, which were particularly juicy. But do you have any questions right now that you would like to ask Tyler?
I mean, unfortunately, I missed. Sorry?
When is the book coming out? Next year?
Mine?
Oh, nice.
Next year. No, I definitely want to write a book. So I have so many questions, and I know I missed the 10 minutes before, so I don't want to ask something that you guys already touched upon. But I mean, I'm sure you already told the people how to become a best-selling author and the process behind it. So that would have been my first question. So yeah, I would say I have no questions, but I don't want to ask something that you guys already talked about.
Yeah, so, or I'll leave that up to you.
Yes, certainly, Tyler. Please feel free to respond the way you want.
Yeah. So what I'll do, and definitely listen to the first 10 minutes, because I break down exactly how all of them work. So just to shorten it, essentially what you want to do, there's 5 major lists. They're different, but they all work similarly in the sense that you want to orchestrate all your sales in a short period of time. And the longest would be a week. The shortest would be 1 day, depending on the list. But let's just say it was like Wall Street or New York Times. Besides the audiobook list, it would be a week long, and you want to drive as many sales as possible in that week. The way we do it mostly is with email list marketing. So that's actually how we get a lot of people on lists, is we have email lists of people in the millions that have opted in to be notified when books are discounted, right? And then so you do like a 1 week discount, blast it out to people on email lists. And marketing's limitless, so you could do so many different things, right? I mean, you could do clubhouse rooms, podcasts prior, and have them all land during the same week. It's just our core way is email list marketing. But yeah, so let's just say it was Wall Street Journal. If you got like 5,000 plus sales in a week, you would probably hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. And actually, one method I want to share real quick for people, and you could do this even if you have a big budget, but let's just say that you were on a tight budget and you you didn't have the money to like pay a huge PR firm or like pay us to do the launch for you. What we found, and I learned this from Gary Vee, actually, is he talks about essentially showing what you're doing rather than like creating content. So documentation over creation. That's what he says. And what you can do is start a Facebook group or use another service like Mighty Networks or something. I don't know if you guys have heard of that company, but
Yeah.
and you create a community around your book. So your book's coming out next year. What I would recommend is start putting out, like create a community with one of these platforms and start as you're sharing, like basically as you're leading up to your book launch, start pointing people back to your group. And then a year later, you could have like hundreds to thousands of people in the group that have been along the journey with you throughout the whole process. And then when you go to release it, they'll all support you because they feel like they've literally been a part of it.
Yeah.
And that could be as
Love
easy
it.
as just like, you wake up and you're like, oh, today's a rough day. I have writer's block, like quick post of you in like a robe with coffee or something, just whatever. And then boom. And then you get a bunch of people following your journey, something like that.
This is amazing. You could do that because Martina documents so much of her everyday life. You would do that for sure, right?
Yeah, for sure. Because like I love this aspect of community building and then documenting everything. Because whenever other people have been documenting their journey, be it a book or whatever else, it was always like so interesting. And as you said, you feel like you're part of it, right? So you obviously want to buy the final product. So it's a genius idea. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course.
And Martina, something that Tyler said when you were not here with us yet is something that I think bears repeating. I mean, it's amazing. You will love it too, Martina. is the irresistible offer. Tyler, could you please repeat that and maybe go a little bit more into detail, because this is such a cool strategy that, I mean, it automatically produces results like crazy, right?
Yeah, so for the New York Times method, there's two different ways that we help people with it, but one of the ways is a pre-order campaign. And essentially what you would do is, let's just say you had like a course that you sell for $2,000. This was the example that I had given, is when your book comes out and you put it on pre-order, you can actually give that away for free in exchange for somebody pre-ordering your book at like $30, let's say. And that is what we call like an irresistible offer. So like anybody that's following you would 100% take that deal, right? Because this course has been $2,000 for the past couple of years, let's say, and now for a couple months, it's free. All they got to do is get your book. And that is a way that you could drive just tons of sales. And then the longer answer, and I won't go all the way into it, but for New York Times, then you take all those people that got your irresistible offer, and then you process those orders through different bookstores that New York Times looks at. And that's how that's one of the ways to get on the list.
How genius. Oh my God, thank you. Thanks, Jessica, for reiterating that. Wow.
Because just so you know, so Tyler, Martina is my COO, and she's also, she does many things. And one of them is that she's a nervous system coach, and she does business coaching. And then she talks a lot about visibility as well. That's why Martina and I are doing a challenge together. The Embodied Visibility Challenge is a 30-day live challenge that is going to take place in February. So Martina comes, so she's a nervous system coach, but she covers the angles of business coaching. She's like a great business coach. She gives me a lot of advice, as a business coach, as a COO. And also there's this angle of visibility. So we are talking about courses all the time, courses and programs and so on. That's why I knew that this was going to be super important to know for Martina, because this is all she does all day, times with herself. Yes. Yeah,
no, for sure. And let's just say real quick for anybody listening, let's just say you don't have that course, you could easily create it. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have something right now that you're selling, then create something that you believe is worth $2,000, right? And you truly believe it's worth. And then for the people that support you with your book, discount, make it free for them. And then everybody else, they got to pay full price, and that's totally fine. I mean, it's your product, so you can do whatever you want with it. But just making sure, because I'm sure some people are like, oh, I don't have that 2,000, you just got to take the time and create it. So.
So good.
Tyler. So the company is, so to say, I don't want to say that it's an agency, but it's a done for you product, right? Or service, right? But do you do any done with you or done by you, in the sense of, do you have your own programs, your own courses?
Yeah, we do. So, and actually this is really important. So I'll talk about that real quick, is that I started with done with you, and that can totally work. It's just, for me, I found it was very hard to scale. Obviously, like group coaching, you can scale. But when I started this in the beginning, I was like coaching people through the process of writing, publishing, and marketing their book. But what happened is, at around like it was probably around like low six figures, I hit a roadblock because so many people were calling, texting me like with questions. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is great. I learned a lot, but I don't think this is the system of how I want to build my business. So I don't do done with you anymore. But what we do is we have courses that are anywhere from like $50 to like $1,000. And then we have done for you that's like anywhere from, I think our lowest is 8,500 to like 500K. So like in that like high end done for you. And what I like about those is the course, obviously when somebody buys, the course is fulfilled and there's no time on your end, right? So that can scale limitless. And then on the done for you, the more customers we get, the more people I hire to implement. And that still doesn't take more of my time, except for the hiring. So I don't know. I just think done for you and courses are the easiest way to scale. Obviously, I will say though, coaching, very fulfilling. For me personally, found it harder to scale. So that's how it worked for me.
Absolutely. I think that Martina agrees, right?
Totally.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think for you, Mart, right? So you probably coach some people one-on-one, but to scale, you would do like group coaching, right? Because one-on-one, eventually your time just runs
Totally.
out, so.
Unless it's super high ticket, but super high ticket, but then it becomes boring as well because you don't get to work with a lot of people. That's why I didn't want to have a public relations agency, a personal PR agency. I wanted to have do consulting. Basically, what I do is like a mix of coaching and consulting, and I just call it strategy. That's why I'm just a strategist. I'm not just a strategist. I mean, I am a strategist, and I don't have an agency. That's why, absolutely, yeah, I totally agree. Because this way you can work with more people. Actually, otherwise, if you are an agency like me on my own, oh my god, with my team, we could only cover maybe help 2-3 clients at a time. If I have to do that personal PR from A to Z all day, right? Totally. Wow, this is amazing. And let me hear you, Martina. Is there anything else that you would like to ask? By the way, sorry. This is very important, guys. We are going to post all of Tyler's links in the comment section of this recording or this live. I don't know how you're watching us, but it's super important because for me, for example, I have to get on your website, Tyler, and I have to look at all of the courses because there's a few things I think that I want to buy. Okay. Sorry. Okay, Martina. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, thank you. And that was good because obviously can't wait to follow Tyler on all the platforms that I'm on, and binge some content. Yeah, it was just you touched upon about the pricing and the investment and a small, big budget or mid budget. So but just in general, when someone wants to write a book, what is the minimum that people kind of should expect to invest for a small budget, mini budget, or however we would phrase it? And I know there's no limit to there, but I know that most people start usually with a limited budget. So
yeah, so here I'll go from like lowest to highest. I think that would be helpful. So and obviously it is limitless at the end of the day, but I think highest in the sense of what would make sense and that you would be like successful with it. So if you're on, let's just say, a tight budget, then what I would say is, write the book yourself, right? Because hiring a ghostwriter is pretty expensive. Like we charge $50K for ghostwriting. So, write the book yourself, $0, or have somebody else write it 50. So pretty big difference. So write the book yourself. One place I would invest money either way is on an editor. Because an editor literally, like, you will not even recognize your book. Like it can be that dramatic, and you can find like a solid editor for like a couple grand. So I would very highly recommend if you're on a tight budget, definitely put aside even if it's like $3,000, let's say, hire an editor that you feel good about. And that's something you definitely want to do. Publishing, you could self-publish. And that's, you go through Kindle Direct Publishing. You'd have to get like freelancers or whatever to do like the book cover and formatting, but you can find that on like Fiverr. And again, Fiverr is not going to be like the highest quality of book cover designer, but again, if you're on tight budget, so you could honestly publish your book and become an Amazon bestseller yourself, probably with about like $5K. You could do it, so you could do as low as that. And then on the flip side, and this is a lot of our clientele, is like, say you're like the CEO of a company or COO of a company, and you're running the company, you don't have time, right, to do it, let's just say, or you don't want to take the time, then you could hire us to do ghostwriting, editing, publishing, and marketing to, let's say, Wall Street Journal or New York Times. And at that level, you'd be looking at like, $100K to like $500K in that range for us to do the whole thing for you. And you put in maybe 10 hours in total time, and we do the whole thing for you. So
wow, that's convenient and needed, and the only option, to be fair, for people who are super busy, like CEOs, of course. Yeah, definitely. Wow.
Yeah.
Sure. Martina, so
just a quick question. Sorry, yeah.
One day we will be there as well. We will only
of
put
course.
in 10.
Yeah, I mean, 5K sounds really so like it's a no-brainer decision as a minimum, I would say. So I mean, 5K is really is really a no-brainer decision when you want to publish a successful book. I just wanted to ask you, how does this ghostwriting? I mean, kind of understand what this is, because like a lot of celebrities using ghostwriters, but how does that work? You know, because is this then included in the 10 hours that the CEO or the busy CEO needs to invest in? Because obviously the story needs to be told, right?
Yeah, so actually, like in that done for you scenario, that the 10 hours, 8 of them is in that realm, and then the other is just more like giving feedback on like, hey, do you like the cover, or what don't you like about it? And then the marketing part, like if we're getting you interviews, you know, obviously you got to show up and do the interviews, so that time could be limitless, but you could obviously tell us, hey, I don't want to do any more interviews, and that would be up to you. But on the ghostwriting, to answer your question, the way we do it, it's like weekly Zoom interviews, or it could be in person, because some of my ghostwriters are based in Miami, so we've done some like in person, but essentially once a week for anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks, you get on an hour Zoom, and then one of our writers will interview the soon to be author, and then each week, and they record it, and then they write a chapter or more, and then the next Zoom call, they go over it, and then they do the next interview, right? So that's all the time that's involved, is just showing up. And basically it's just like, how would you say, just like kind of unloading everything in your brain and just like dumping it out for the writer to then take it and organize it and write it for you. So that's where most of the time is.
Oh, yes. Let's do that, Martina.
Thank you.
Let's
Totally.
Perfect.
Can't wait.
Wow. Oh my God, this has been amazing. Tyler, I have to ask you a question that I ask everybody. And usually that is the last question of our interviews, but let's say it doesn't have to be the last question of our interview today, but I still want to ask you this question. So what is a question that Martina and I haven't asked you over the past 47 minutes, but we should have asked you?
Okay. Well, it actually, what first came to mind, I'll just say that is, so my other business, it's called Infinite Partnership System, and we teach people how to scale their companies. And we do it in a way where we teach a way that doesn't really have any risk or cost the person any money if they did it themselves. And so that would be the one thing, is the question that when podcasters ask me to provide questions, which some do, some don't, I actually like more of a free flowing like this personally, but it's like, so how do I scale my business without any risk or ad spend? And then I provide an answer to that. So that would be the one question. That's just what came to my mind.
So Tyler, how do I scale my business?
Okay. There we go. So yeah, I didn't know if that actually meant we were going to answer it or not. So that's why I paused. But no. I'll answer. Yeah. No. So here's the thing. So, and I realized this from how we scaled Authors Unite, but I didn't realize it like while we were doing it. I realized it afterward, right? So in the beginning, I had tried like webinar funnels, all these different things. And don't get me wrong, Facebook ads, webinar funnels, all that stuff works. It's just, it wasn't working for me really. I don't know why, just maybe I wasn't doing it right or something. So it never worked for me at the level I wanted it to. So if you recall earlier in the interview, our core foundation of Authors Unite is book marketing. So that's where we started, and then we branched out to ghostwriting and all these other services. But book marketing, there's a lot of book publishers out there, and their expertise is book publishing. It's not marketing. Most of them, in fact, I can't really name one that does like full blown marketing. They do offer some marketing support in some areas, but not everything. You know, the author still has to do stuff on their own. So how we scaled our company is we basically, one of the types of companies we reached out to is book publishers. And we reached out to every book publisher that speaks English, like in the world. And I'm not exaggerating. Like I told my team of virtual assistants, I was like, for the US, we went by every state and we looked like book publishers in Alabama. And then they reached out to every single book publisher in Alabama. And then they went all the way down. And we reached out with a script, and then I have like 12 salespeople or biz dev people, I guess you call it. They get on the call and they just build relationship and a mutual beneficial referral partnership. And you can do that at scale. So now in like our CRM, I think we have like 30, 40,000 different partners. Obviously not all of them have referred, but like that we've contacted and have talked to for 20 minutes and established like, hey, in the future, we might be able to do something together. So either way, if you do this at scale, there's no risk, there's no ad spend, and you build all these relationships, and then you wake up every morning to referrals. So now that's the other business I run, is we basically, there's a course, and then we step in and run it for some companies where we are like, okay, let's identify your top partners, and then let's reach out to all of them and build relationship and scale your company. Right. And if it doesn't go too long, there's one thing I'd like to add to that. So like for us, because I think it would be really helpful, is our top is ghostwriters, editors, book publishers, and PR agencies. So those are our top 4 partners because they work with a lot of authors. Now, here's what's interesting is you can find others the more you do research. So recently we found actually political consultants and political consulting companies are literally one of our biggest partners, just up with those top 4 that I said. And here's the reason is now in today's world, a lot of political consultants or consulting companies that help politicians win races, they recommend 2 things. One is becoming an author, and the other is becoming starting a podcast. Right. So, and I had no idea about this until recently, like a couple months ago. So now that we know that, and we're realizing that it's adding a lot of revenue to our company, we are reaching out to every political consultant and consulting company on LinkedIn in every state in the US and building a relationship. And it's growing. It's just a whole nother avenue that opens up so much. So either way, if I had a company and I was starting over, the first thing I would do is say, what am I offering? Who else offers a complimentary service? And how can I build relationships with them at scale where they can refer to us and we can refer to them? It's the best way to grow a business, in my opinion, and no risk.
Yeah, no risk. Exactly. Oh my God, this is crazy because I have, as a global spoken writer, I've been doing these kind of things for a while, certainly, but not at scale. And this is what really fascinates me. It's crazy. Martina, right? I'm sure that you're super impressed as well. I saw you shaking your head and we were like, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah, it's just a really good reminder, because we, as coaches or mentors, you have so many other people who do similar stuff, and you can build a network of referrals. And I think nothing is more beautiful waking up in the morning and seeing that the revenue came in from referrals. And there's so many people who do like complementary things and, services. And I think that's such a smart relationship to tap into, because no risk, right? It's like, just building this relationship.
Like you're saying, here's the biggest part to it is that most people have a few referral partners, but they never thought of doing it at the scale, right? Yeah. So it's actually, it's the most like easy, fundamental way. It's like since the dawn of time, it's how people have been doing business. Like you have corn, I have strawberries, let's trade, like it's so basic, but people, so that's just what I've seen so much is they're like, yeah, I have these 3 referral partners and they're great. And I'm like, what if you had 30,000? Like you'd have an 8-9 figure business, like get more of those. So either way, it's easy, but I just don't think most people realize that you can scale it. So that's the profound part, I think.
Absolutely. Oh my God, we have to interview you only on this topic next time.
Yeah,
I mean, we can
I think so.
Book marketing. We can talk about, referral systems at scale. There's so many and many more topics I'm sure that we can talk about. So Tyler, you have to come back to the Personal PR show. Are you willing?
Oh yeah, 100%. This was awesome.
I promise that Martina will be there as well next time. She will interview you with me, which is
great.
For sure, we'll be there. It will be there in time, and have questions prepared.
No worries. It was a lot of fun.
Wow.
Totally. Thank you.
Amazing. Exactly. Yes, Martina, is there any last question that you would like to ask Tyler? Or Tyler, is there anything that you would like to tell us? You guys are free to say whatever you want to say. We still have 5 minutes if we need them.
Yeah, no, on my end, I would just say like, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on. I'm definitely happy to do it again. And if anybody in your community has questions afterward, feel free to give them my info. They can reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions.
We are going to include all of your links So to all of the links that you provided to us, we're all going to copy paste them in the comment section of this recording, that definitely, and certainly on YouTube as well, not just in the Facebook group.
Awesome.
Certainly. Yeah. And Martina.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to express my gratitude to you, Tyler, and obviously Jessica, to you, to bring on always the most epic guests, and I always choose the best because I'm not always coming live because I don't have the time. So that was so amazing, and you gave so much value, and so much reminded that there is this referral system that we can scale, and that was actually also very eye-opening among so many other things. So thank you for letting us pick your brain, and thank you, Jessica, for involving me in this beautiful conversation. It's really I'm super excited right now to tap into everything Tyler is offering. And where would people find, where are you in social media most present? Is there any channel that you are most
probably
active?
Instagram and LinkedIn. So Instagram's Tyler B. Wagner, and then LinkedIn's, I think it's just Tyler Wagner on LinkedIn.
Okay.
When you said Martina, she was celebrating. She was like, yes, because she's the Instagram queen, Martina.
Oh, great.
I love Instagram.
I post the most on Instagram, and then LinkedIn is where I probably connect with the most people. I don't post a lot, but I message a lot of people.
Message a lot of people. Okay, great. You said Tyler, what letter before Wagner?
B?
Tyler B, as in boy. Yeah, because Tyler Wagner is actually a baseball player. So he got that one before I did. So I had to put my middle initial,
Oh,
amazing.
We're following you now already.
Oh, perfect. And I will follow back then for sure.
Thank you. Are you, Martina, did you see 620,000 followers?
Yeah, I saw it. Oh my God. This is amazing.
You know what? And actually, real quick on that, is one of the ways that I've been able to grow is from all of our author clients. They, a lot of them, or I shouldn't say a lot, some of them have big followings. And what'll happen, and it's that partnership kind of thing, is once we help them become successful on a bestseller list, they'll post and then tag me, and then it sends people. So it's all, my whole life, honestly, when I think about it, it's just relationships. Everything in my life that's good has come from helping someone and then them returning the favor later. That's literally what it is. So, yeah.
Oh my God. Right, Martina, this is what we talk about also when we talk about super connecting, especially global super connecting. And Tyler, I'm so excited that you're now part of the Global Super Connectors group as well. We can't wait to welcome you at, any of our bi-monthly meetings, and everybody's going to love you for sure. I mean, we're all going to be super excited to meet you. Wow. Thank you so much, Tyler. We will get in touch with you soon to come back on the show. We have to have you at least, 5 to 10 times this year on the personal.
I'm in. This is fun. You let me know. I'm down.
Please. Yes, absolutely. All right, then we'll be in touch soon. Martina, thank you so much for keeping us company. Guys, thank you so much for watching us, and we will see you probably tomorrow for another episode of the Personal PR Show. Bye, everybody, and bye, Tyler and Martina. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Take care.